What is relevant about this?
The number you have reached is not in service. This is a recording.
The question of having to deal with what is unspoken by the
The number
subjugated,
you have
what is
reached
never said.
is not in service. This is a
Well, having to
recording.
deal with this reality was a very remote possibility. It was in no one's mind. When I was growing up, I was taught in American history books
This is a recording.
about whom the less said, the better. Well, of course, I believed it. I didn't have much choice. Those are the only books there were. Everyone else seemed to agree. If you walk out of Harlem, ride out of Harlem, downtown, the world agrees. What you see is much bigger, cleaner, richer, safer than where you are. They collect the garbage. People obviously can pay their life insurance. The children look happy. Say, you're not. And you go back home. And it would seem then, of course, that it's an act of God, that this is true, that you belong. It is only since the Second World War that there's been a counter image in the world, and that image not come about through any legislation on the part of any American government.
This is a recording.
It has created and will create a great many conundrums. One of the great things that I think I do know to pretend and to assume that you are dealing essentially with something exotic, bizarre, and practically, according to human laws, unknown. Alas, that is not true. We are also mercenaries, dictators, murderers, liars. We are human too. What is crucial here is that unless we can manage to establish some kind of dialogue between those people whom I pretend has paid for the American dream and those other people who have not achieved it, we will be in terrible trouble.
This is a recording.
I want to say at the end, the last, is that is what concerns me most. We are sitting in this room and we are all, at least we like to think we are, relatively civilized. And we can talk to each other at least on a certain level. So that we could walk out of here assuming that the measure of our enlightenment, or at least our politeness, has some effect on the world. It may not. I remember, for example, they were not in Harlem when this statement was first heard, and did not hear, and possibly will never hear, the laughter and the bitterness and the scorn with which the statement was greeted. From the point of view of the man in the Harlem barbershop, Bobby Kennedy only got here yesterday. And now he's already on his way to the presidency.
This is a recording.
What is dangerous here is the turning away from anything. The reason for the political hesitation in spite of the Johnson landslide is the one that's been betrayed by American politicians for so long. And And I am a grown man, and perhaps I can be reasoned with. I certainly hope I can be. But I don't know, and neither does Martin Luther King. None of us know how to deal with those other people whom the white world has so long ignored, who don't believe anything the white world says, and don't entirely believe anything I or Martin say. And one can't blame them. You watch what has happened to them in less than 20 years. It seems to me that the city of New York, for example, this is my last point.
This is a
If the
recording.
city of New York were able, as it hasn't been able, in the last 15 years to reconstruct itself, tear down buildings and raise great new ones, downtown and for money, and has done nothing whatever except build housing projects in the ghetto. Presently the property doesn't deteriorate because the children cannot bear it. If the American pretensions were based on more solid, a more honest assessment of life and of themselves, when someone says urban renewal, it's not an act of God. We're dealing with a society made and ruled by men. The history of the American labor movement will be much more edifying than it is. It is a terrible thing for an entire people to surrender to the notion.
This is a recording.
And until that moment, until the moment comes, when we, the American people, are able to accept the fact that I have to accept, for example, that on that continent we are trying to forge a new identity for which we need each other. That I am not a war of America. I am not an object of missionary charity. I am one of the people who built the country. Until this moment, there is scarcely any hope for the American dream.